Very nice to see you out this evening.
Well, bring these folks on in. And if there's, I see somebody else has a cane here too tonight. If you do need to take a seat, we have plenty here available. So a few of you look like you might be pushing maybe 74 years. Come right ahead. Now, my name is Horatio Nelson Devol, but I am the stepson of Abner Scribner. Now, my mother, you see, was Miss Charlotte Devol, and I was born in Marietta, Ohio. Now, some would say that's the oldest American settlement in all of this Northwest Territory. But when Papa and Uncle Nathaniel come down the river to meet with Uncle Joel Scribner, well, Marietta was a natural stopping point, and that's where my parents met. The very next year, those three brothers come right here, and they founded this city of New Albany in the Indiana Territory, and that's almost 75 years ago now. They got real busy and built up a fine house for Uncle Joel and all his family. Well, you know, the clapboard house downtown there, the Scribner house. Now, a year after that, Papa sent for Mama and me, and then in the year of statehood, 1816, they got married. It was a new state, and we were a new family. 2 years later, Uncle Nathaniel went before the state legislature at Corydon to petition them for a new county to surround us. But when he got back to the top of the knobs, he took sick. He made it halfway home. At the bottom of the knobs, he found refuge in a cabin, but he died. The city was only 5 years old. By 1824, Uncle Joel was gone, and they're all buried right here. But my daddy, he was sort of adventuresome. He went off to build a mill in Memphis, Tennessee. And then in 1827, the yellow fever struck and he was gone. He died, a stranger in a strange land. I was only 15, but I went right to work on the riverboats. I was a cabin boy, but I was ambitious. Within 5 years, I had saved enough money to build a house for my mama and all the rest of the family, right there on Lafayette Street, across from Scribner Park. Well, you remember, where the whole town turned out to honor the Marquis de Lafayette himself when he made the grand tour. Well, 5 years after I built that house, the city had its 25th anniversary. And I turned 25, and, well, I decided it was time for me to start anniversaries of my own. So that's the year that I married Miss Margaret McCoy. Now, my brother, Benjamin Franklin Scribner, my half-brother, he had that same adventuresome spirit as my father. 1846, he went off to fight the war with Mexico. He was one of the heroes of Buena Vista. Wrote a book about it, too, and you can still read that. It's out there. Well, by the 1850s, I'd retired from the river as an engineer. Opened up a business. I wasn't hard to find. Why, from the very first issue of the Ledger on, you could find me. It said, Stove Establishment of H.N. Devol. That's me. It's good business. Come the 50th anniversary of the city, Brother Ben, now General Benjamin Franklin Scribner, he started that year off with a bang. January 1863, the Battle of Stones River, and that was followed by Chickamauga, the Battle of Lookout Mountain, and finally Kennesaw Mountain in Georgia. And along with him fine young man, his adjutant, my son, Lieutenant George H. Devol. And at the end of that hard year of fighting, they came home, and I saw to it that the city presented them with a fine new regimental flag. Now, some of you may have heard of George H. Devol, but I want you to be sure not to confuse my fine son with our notorious cousin, the riverboat gambler, George H. Devol. Now, our cousin, he fleeced those suckers all the way up and down the river, and I believe he did operate on almost every riverboat New Albany ever built. How do they say? Louisville to St. Louis, Natchez to New Orleans, living on Jackson, Queens, he was a legend. And then, speaking of Natchez, when that boat raced our Robert E. Lee, Cousin George thought he knew something. He took one look at that boat and he just knew the Robert E. Lee was top heavy. But later on he admitted he never imagined, even as a gambler, that Captain John W. Cannon had that many tricks up his sleeve. Well, here I am, named for an admiral, the brother of a general, and the father of a lieutenant. But I tell you what, the title I'm most proud of is the one I earned. That's Grandpa. Now, at 74, I'm not real sure that I'm going to make it through to the 75th anniversary of town, but you all go ahead and enjoy. This has been a good town. It's been good to me, and I'm sure it'll do the same for you. But I've got a young Scribner cousin here. I believe she can tell you about the hereafter. Miss Hattie?
Thank you, cousin. My most vivid memory is the centennial of this city. They closed off a part of Market Street, and for almost a week there were little booths and pavilions that you could see the various industries here in the city. Of course, the steamboat industry, and the foundries, and the stove works, and the plate glass making, and the baskets, and the hosiery mills. It was wonderful. You could just walk up and down there and learn so much and visit with people and think about the 100 years of New Albany. And then you could sit down and have a plate of ice cream. Oh, that was good ice cream. I had more than one plate. You could go at night because all of it was lighted with electric light bulbs. It was like being there during the day. No, it was better than being there during the day because it was almost magical to be there at night and see all of the things lighted up with that beautiful electric lights. We had a parade through town, and I opened up Scribner House because a lot of people wanted to see the home of the original Scribner House in New Albany. And my goodness, I don't know, there were 2,000 or 3,000 people, I think, that came trooping through there. And it was maybe a little more than I had anticipated, but I was glad to have everybody come and visit and see Scribner House. And New Albany had a fundraising project. They had some mementos that they sold, and they raised $400, and they gave it to me to repair Scribner House, which I did. I'm so glad that I was able to persuade my father to write down his memories of the founding of the city, because New Albany, I don't know if it was two decades old, and Grandfather Joel and Uncle Nathaniel and Uncle Abner were all gone. And so the only one who could write about those early days was my father, William Augustus Scribner. He was 13 years old when he came down here with his uncles, and they hired Mr. John Kennedy Graham to lay out a proper city with wide streets and true corners and town lots. My father held the chain while he did that surveying, so he did have memories of those early days, and he knew that grandfather wanted this to be a proper town. That's why they built Scribner House. It was clevered. It wasn't just a log cabin. They wanted newcomers to know that this wasn't going to be just a helter-skelter sort of thing on the frontier. It was a proper city. And they planned accordingly. Every so many lots were for municipal buildings and for churches and for the parks that are here. And we started the Presbyterian Church here and the school, because those were essential to have in a new city. And the church and the school both met in the parlor of the house. So all of us young Scribners never had any excuse for missing school or missing church. I have recently joined the DAR because my grandfather Joel's father fought in the American Revolution, and I have become a member of Piankashaw chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. They have approached me about the possibility of buying Scribner House. All of my nieces and nephews have their own homes, and nobody wants such a tiny little house anymore. I do hope that they will go ahead and be able to buy Scribner House from me, that they will want to do that, because then I know that Scribner House will be here for the bicentennial of New Albany. My only regret is that I won't be. But I will find some way. I will know that Scribner House is here, and I will know that this city is celebrating its bicentennial. And all of us, we must make a pact. We will all be here to celebrate the tricentennial of New Albany. I'm so glad that all of you are visiting with us tonight, and enjoy the rest of your trip here.